How about now? Can you guys hear the audio now? We got it fixed. All right. So let's go back a bit. Since you guys couldn't hear me, apparently, let's go back a bit. So we got a lot of here on store for tonight for our premiere of Season 2 of DXC Live. We've got our interview with Wayne Heinen. We're in top of the hour alert mode right now for IDs here on 910 kilohertz. We're going to be talking about the medium wave frequency challenge we've been running all week. Give you guys a chance to be able to share what you have been hearing, and also we'll take a look at that, some of the loggings. We've been getting a ton of loggings. We're close to 100 loggings so far here on 910 kilohertz, which with little notice, you guys have been absolutely doing a great job of bringing those in. So let's get back to our top of the hour alert, though. We're going red, and we're going to be checking out some live DX right here on the Perseus. Let's fire up the Jaguar software and the CAS. Let's go. Got the Irish Channel Stout tonight. Here from our new home here in Mandeville, Louisiana. Actually, this one's from New Orleans. Cheers, my friends. Welcome to Season 2. Operator error. Actually, it was. All right, so we've got some country and music right now. We're on the Northwest Wire. This is the Northeast Wire. Here on the Northwest, we've got sounds like country music, and I'm guessing that's probably from here in Mandeville going to be KNAF in Fredericksburg, Texas. We've got the vactrol here, so I can either dial in the resistance so we can get a good termination on the southeast or southwest side, or I can back off the resistance so we can get the full directionality. We've also tonight, we've got our ELAD FDM S3 with the W6 LVP loop on the rotor, so we'll also be checking a look at that one as well tonight. Yeah, Super Corona mentions we do have the EPG, also country music they're hearing here in the upstate. That's a good one. I would expect to hear them pretty well here on the Northeast Wire. So we're just under 6 minutes away from top of the hour. We're right now on our Northeast Wire. Let's use that vactrol to dial in here. And we're going to take this on lower sideband. Because we have a station up in Arkansas, KERN, that is giving us some splatter. You're also going to note here on this Northeast Wire, we do have a het. And that het is from 901, likely BBC in England. Let's go back to the Northwest. Het is gone. Yeah, I've had a pretty good het from 909 here the last couple nights on that Northeast Wire. So this is, for those who are unfamiliar with it, this is Jaguar Pro software. Jaguar Pro is a SDR piece of software that's specifically tied to the Perseus. at this time, at least the Perseus SDR. And then over here on the ELAD FDMS3, we're running SDR console. This is version 3.0.28. So that's what we're running over here with the W6 LVP loop and the ELAD SDR as well. So that's the equipment we're running tonight. You'll see the rest of the information up here at the top as far as our antennas and things like that go. Hey, there's Teak Publishing showing up tonight. B-Town. We've actually got the hit tonight here on the Northwest wire too. That means they're pretty strong. And here I'll show you if we flip it to our 9K spacing. Nice. There it is. Let's turn that audio down just a second. We've got the, there's the het. You can see it right there on the northwest wire. Let's go to the northeast. See if we get any bigger. We've actually got some, normally when I've been seeing this is in the blues, but right now we got some greens, possibly some yellows there on that waterfall. So that means we're getting a pretty decent signal out of what's probably BBC here. Let's see if we have any audio coming through. That's brutal. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Let's go back to the northwest. We can get that het down a little bit. I'm really focusing here on the northwest. All right, we're 2 minutes in until we hit top of the hour time here on 910 kilohertz. We're heading northwest on the wire here. Got to keep an eye on the LSU game and the Clemson game in this house. Both of them tonight. That country and western that you're hearing there, Rifleman 336, likely Texas country. Got some Spanish station. All right, here we go, top of the hour. Let's take it over to the ELAD real quick. And we're going north-south. That's probably KRIL right there. Let's throw it west, east-west. And that hit on 909 is getting stronger on this one. Let's go back and check on the Kaz. Yeah, so that country music we're hearing, I think that's Fredericksburg, because I have them louder on the west orientation of the loop, and they're here on the northwest wire. On the northeast, they're not there. So, Robert, yeah, right now we're on the Perseus right here with the Jaguar right now. And the Kaz combo that you see here at the top. And right now, we'll change these. There we go. We're on the 305 right now. I want to say that gospel station that we hear in there is probably Mississippi. We've got a gospel station here. The MOG in Meridian. And on the northeast Cas here right now, that would assume they would be coming in. And again, right now we're on the northwest Cas, which is here. This is what we're looking at on the northwest Cas. Actually, I'm sorry, we're on the northeast. So this is what we're looking at 35 degrees. So we should have a nice head coming out of England, even here this far inland, because we're pointing right at them. Get rid of that head here in upper sideband. We shouldn't have as much splatter from Arkansas on the northeast wire here. With that Cas, you can really dial it in on those vactrols. All right, we are out of top of the hour mode, so let's swap back. To our regular DX pattern. Hey, Bill. Welcome to the group. We're having a good time so far. No ID here at the top of the hour on 910. Did have a nice head here from 909 in England. But we didn't have any IDs. It was just kind of a mush on this one tonight. So we're going to keep plugging in it, though. We're going to keep trying here on 910 over the course of the evening. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit later on about the medium wave frequency challenge and what everyone has been hearing this week. And we'll be announcing our frequency for next week, starting this evening through next stream that we do next week. We'll have a new frequency for us to all look at. So if you have requests, we'll take a look at them. I'm also going to be doing some number crunching on my side to see some holes we want to fill as well. So we'll be taking a look at that. But if you guys have a frequency that is in mind that you think might be fun for us all to look at, definitely let us know in the chat over here on the YouTube chat that we have going on with the live stream. So let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to go ahead and play the interview with Wayne Heinen. Our first segment, we're going to have two segments of it tonight, one in this hour, one in the next hour, and the entire interview with Wayne is going to be up on our YouTube channel tomorrow. It's in 3 parts on the channel. It'll be in 3 parts on the channel. It's an hour and a half long interview, so it's a lot of stuff. But tonight we're going to do so first segment, just a little bit of it, and second segment, a little bit more talking about the NRC. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll have our interview, segment 1 with Wayne, and then we come back from that, more AMDX right here on DXC Live. Stay tuned.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AM/DX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AM/DXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live right here this evening on a Saturday evening, a nice, cool Saturday evening here in Mandeville, Louisiana. And we're bringing some live DX here for you in our session. We've already done a top of the hour check. Nothing heard on that one, but we're going to keep trying here as we go along throughout the evening. So much more AM DX coming your way. But first, let's go ahead and introduce DXC One-on-One. It's our new segment here on DX Central Live, and we're very excited to be sharing with you the very knowledgeable, very experienced Mr. Wayne Heinen of the National Radio Club as our first interview for DXC One-on-One.
Bringing you some of the biggest names in the DX community. This is DXC One-on-One.
And welcome to our newest feature here on DX Central Live. It's called DXC One-on-One. And this is where we bring some of the biggest and most influential names in the DX community to you so they can share their wisdom and their expertise. Today, we're talking with Wayne Heinen. He's the chairman of the board of the National Radio Club. He's got a lot of great stories to tell, but he's also going to share why, if you're not already, you need to be a member of the National Radio Club right now. But we're going to do this in two segments tonight, one this hour, one next hour. And now there's a lot of additional material that we're not going to have time for tonight, but don't worry. The full uncut interview with Wayne is going to be available for you right here on our YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out. But first, it's time for segment one with Wayne Heinen of the National Radio Club right here on DXC One-on-One.
So welcome, Wayne, to DXC One-on-One. We really appreciate you joining us here and having a chance to talk about your DX experience and the NRC.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here, Lloyd. It's really nice to be able to get out here and talk about the club.
Absolutely, yeah. That's I've been a member off and on since the early '90s when I kind of got started in my DX career. But the DX News publication, the NRC log, that kind of thing. Those are the absolute cornerstones of how I learned, how to be a DXer. The information that I know to this day really got started between those two, and obviously my dad is a DXer as well. Kind of showing me the ropes, but those two, the DX News and the NRC log, that was everything before we had the internet and everything else. That's where it was at. So,
oh yeah, that's exactly where we've gone over the years.
Absolutely. Just a couple of really quick questions to kind of start us off here. So, Wayne, how did you get started in DXing?
My dad was an amateur radio operator, and back when I was actually a preteen, 12, 13 years old, I started listening to shortwave. And when that got boring, I went down on a broadcast band. And then I found out about 1963 or so that broadcast band stations would actually answer reception reports, send QSL cards. And from there, the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
I found out about the National Radio Club in 64 and joined it in February of 65, and I've been a member ever since.
Awesome. Do you remember your first DX catch on AM?
WICU, Erie, Pennsylvania, 1330.
Nice.
I don't even know what the call is today, but that was the old call back then.
Nice. Your first QSL?
Actually, WUSJ, Lockport, New York, 1340.
Amazing. That's fantastic. I remember those first couple of QSLs, those first stations that kind of got me into it like it was yesterday, right? And it was, for me, about 30 years ago or so. So always those things that kind of stick out in your mind that you never forget, the first station you heard and the first QSL that you got back. How many hours a day do you typically DX in a given week? Or maybe hours in a given week. How many hours do you DX in a given week?
It kind of varies because I've got a lot of other activities, but I usually spend 2 or 3 hours reviewing tapes, and most of my DX activity now is using SDRs and taping with SDR Uno software, and I've got a RP DX. That's their latest and greatest SDR play, and I've been using that now on and off for the last couple of years. And with the SDR Uno software that now has all the record capabilities that can use all of the filtering capabilities of the GX model, it's enhanced things quite a bit. So, but I listen 2 to 3 hours a day usually, and then a lot more if I don't have any other projects going on during the week.
Outstanding. What antennas are you running with those SDRs?
Right now, mostly right now, I've been experimenting. I bought a Wellbrook loop from a ham radio operator here who, unfortunately, he didn't know how to put it together, and I don't think he was getting good results from it, which that was good. I managed to pick it up for a couple $100 as opposed to the $350 or $400 it cost to get it shipped in from the UK. And with the help of some NRCers like Bill Swiger, and I'm not even going to try and butcher her name, out of California.
Oh, Stephanie?
I've got to think. Stephanie, yes. And I'm not going to butcher her last name. But Stephanie sent me a bunch of pictures of hers so I could follow that. And they were better pictures than on the website. And I could put it back together and got it up and running. And it runs fine now. So I've got it mounted on a 15-foot mast on a rotator in the backyard. And been mostly experimenting with that because the Wellbrook loop has got a very, very good high dB preamp to it. And the problem I have is I have locals that are, I have one local that's 10 kW day and 500 watts night, and they throw the whole 500 watt night at me from 4 miles away. And between that and KOA 850, I tend to get quite a bit of overload. And I believe it's actually the amplifier itself that's overloading. So I've been experimenting over the last month or so with that. I also have an east-west loop, and I've got a north-south loop, and those are terminated. And I can switch the termination in the shack with a switch. And those are what I've been using up until this season. The last couple of seasons I've been using those two. And I just got myself a phaser, and I'm starting to get back into doing some active phasing with that as well. But those are all projects for the future because I just acquired everything recently.
Which phaser did you end up running now?
I have a WA1 ION modified quantum phaser. It was built by Everett, N4CY, and he built a couple of these, maybe 3 or 4. And then he had them advertised on the IRCA reflector. And most of us, by the way, are not egocentric in that we have to be one or the other.
Right.
Most of us actually belong to both clubs or both reflectors. So I got it out there and picked it up at a good price. Been working with it ever since.
Outstanding. Yeah, I have my first phaser was a Quantum. And that's kind of where I got my start with phasing, kind of learning how it goes. And then kind of branched out from there. I've got a couple of different models since then, but love. I mean, if you're a DXer who's watching this video and you're not doing phasing, you really need to look into it because it is a game changer for DX on the AM bands. It completely changes what you're able to do and opens up whole new doors for you. So highly recommend, do some research on phasing. There's a lot of great articles out there. We talk about it some on the channel as well. So definitely look into that. It'll change how you DX. So we talked about gear a little bit. What's your approach when you sit down to do a DX session? I usually ask in this kind of scenario here, would you consider yourself casual or hardcore? But based on the gear that you have and how long you've been doing it, I'd say you're a pretty hardcore DXer here. What's your approach when you sit down to do a DX session? How do you go about like deciding what frequency you're going to start with? How do you kind of target what you're going to go after? Or do you just kind of turn it on and kind of see what comes in?
A lot of the things I'm doing these days is I'm watching the solar indices. Mm-hmm. And it's very important to watch those because as the conditions change, I don't even want to get into that. That's a whole nother subject by itself. You could do a whole show on that.
Oh, absolutely.
But if it looks like we're going to get auroral, I'll try to target things to my southwest, southeast, mostly southeast and due south. I'd like to get a lot more South Americans. I've got a few Venezuelans, a few Colombians, but it's a lot harder to get that kind of stuff when you're this far inland than it is when you're sitting out on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I will check that stuff, and I'll also look at the posts that are coming over the reflectors, both the NRC-AM reflector and the IRCA IO group. And I'll see if anybody's reporting anything interesting like somebody that might be on late that I might need or something like that so that I can kind of orient my antennas, pick my antennas and orient them in the direction that might be most favorable for a new station. And I try to get that done before I turn on for the night. And I'll let it run and do 6 minutes at the top of the hour, each hour from approximately, at this point in time, I'm starting at 5 p.m. local, which is sunset skip. And I usually run the tapes for the 6 minutes from then all the way around to, right now it's 8 a.m. local. Mm-hmm. And that's the ending of sunrise skip. And then I can pick and choose there. And then I go through and audit the tapes that are made. They're all RF tapes. They're not audio. So I'm actually recording from 530 down to 1700. And I just spin through the dial and take each hour an hour at a time. And basically I run through it one at a time, looking for something unusual on a frequency. Something that if I get to a frequency and I've got some hard rock music where I haven't heard hard rock music in a long time, I'll stick around and listen there to try and pick up an ID. Mm-hmm. One of those recently was 970 in Idaho, and they're now the mountain or something like that, and they've gone to a heavy rock format, and that came in, and I'm going, okay, this is something new to me, and it was also a call change at the time, so it depends. And then recently, something I hadn't heard in a number of years, and it's a change, is WSVC on 980. I started hearing Fox News on Fox Sports on 980. Well, I've never heard it there before. Lo and behold, I get an ID, and they've now changed their nighttime format to all sports. They used to be conservative talk. So, stuff like that. That's what you look for, and you just keep going and keep building up the log. It's
so important, right? It's such an important concept, and I'm always finding myself telling this to newer DXers. Knowing the band in your area, knowing on any given night, on any given frequency, what you expect to hear, that's how you can spot when there's something out of the ordinary. I remember when I was in North Carolina, just kind of tuning around, and on 1140 from North Carolina, Richmond, Virginia is just, that's what you got. But there was one night when it wasn't news talk. It wasn't a talk radio show. It was something a little bit different, a little more kind of eclectic. And it turned out to be Alberta. And, that was to this day, one of my absolute favorite DX catches that I've had because, typically we think on those, especially those larger clear channel stations where there's one kind of dominant station, we don't really think about that, right? We don't tend to go there. We tend to go to the ones where there's more regionals or graveyarders or whatever. But if you go through those every once in a while, you can be surprised what you'll find. So that's a great example of knowing the band. If you know what to expect to hear, if you hear something out of the ordinary, that tells you, okay, I need to listen in here because I shouldn't be hearing hard rock here. I'm expecting to hear something completely different, or Fox Sports or whatever it might be. So you brought up another point here that I did want to get your opinion on, because I saw a debate about this recently online. Call letter changes. Do you log that as a new log or no?
I log them and I denote them as a call letter change. Mm-hmm. And I've done that actually since I started. And that's the way, that's the way a bunch of old timers, Ralphie Johans from Buffalo, Ray Edge from Buffalo, a lot of those guys that I learned a lot of the stuff from early on would note the call change. They'd put it in their log, and they would actually separate out the counts. And I do that to this day. I can tell you if I go out there and get my stats. I didn't do that before we started this, so I can't go out and grab them for you. But I know how many allocations I've actually heard in the state of Colorado. I know how many call changes I've heard. I know the total number of tapes I've got, total number of paper varies that I've got. And I don't really collect those anymore, but occasionally I still do get a paper one from one of the DX tests, like the WENR test that was on the front page of the logbook, the AM radio log. That test, I actually got that, which was kind of like, I didn't believe it, but my local went off, and just as they went off, I got a code ID, and it was like, that's all I heard.
There you go.
That was enough.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you that too. Do you find yourself doing, outside of maybe a DX test, do you really ever do any reception reports anymore, or are you just kind of collecting those air check recordings?
Actually, I report each and every DX test I hear. In fact, usually, if I don't hear a DX test, I might let the operator know if they're at all interested in reports. Well, I heard this guy, and that guy. You didn't quite make it, and thank you very much for getting on the air for a test. Yeah. That is so important. Back in the 60s, I did buku CPC requests with a manual typewriter. And, that was in the living room of the house I grew up in. It was Mom's typewriter. And I was like 15 years old, and I typed out those letters, sent them out with return postage. And, I'd get maybe 2 or 3 replies out of 10. And maybe out of 20, I'd get a DX test. And that was back in the 60s. And at that point in time, it was like everybody was encouraged in DX News. Make sure, even if you don't hear it, make sure you thank them for getting on, because without that thank you, they're not liable to respond. And maybe the next time, maybe a couple of years from now, they'll let us know if they're going to be testing or something else, or say, hey, let's do this again. I changed a couple parameters. Let's try it again and see how it works. So the thank you, the report, that's all very, very important for DX tests.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've really enjoyed the DX test that we've had the last, year or so. When I first started in DX, that was a thing for me, right? Was some of these things like Montana for me in North Carolina, not a likely scenario for me to hear Montana on any given night. There's, exceptions, but I remember a DX test on 750. My mom and I actually stayed up really late. Dad didn't have a chance to do it that night. I still like to give him a hard time about that one. And so we stayed up late. We got the DX test, and having that QSL in hand from the station in Montana was just a huge thrill. So I've really enjoyed that. Actually, another one last year in Montana on 880 KER. It wasn't KE. It was the 750. KJJR and Whitefish. Had a lot of fun. Was really surprised to hear that one. coming in when I was in Charleston. So those are a lot of fun to do. You talk about reception reports. If you have someone maybe who is a newer DXer or someone, maybe they've been DXing, but they haven't done a lot of reception reports and trying to go after QSLs, do you have any tips that might help their success rate out? What are some of the things they should be doing when they're sending these reception reports out?
These days, what I do and what I've done since I stopped collecting paper and I don't mail anything anymore, I make sure I've got the absolute best possible clip and I keep it to less than 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I try to accentuate the things that are on it, especially if I send a 2-minute clip and I've got, the Wii U tones, I've got the Morse code ID, actually, of late, I don't think I've gotten a test ID that didn't have a Morse code ID because they've been either on channels that are just super, super busy or like ones I have a local on. Let's see, I had a local on 1090. We had a test a while back on 1220 mm-hmm. where I have an all-night local, and I logged that test through the local. KSEN up in Montana did a test on 1150, and I nulled out my local on 1150, which means I take them from 40 over S9 down to about an S8 with the phaser. And of all things, I got their Morse code ID right straight through my local 4 miles to my west.
That's fantastic.
So those are the kind of things that you make sure, if you're going to get with a test these days, I'm going to say all of them are going to require an audio proof. There's not much you can send anymore that a station will verify. And if you get the kind where you've got a closer in one, where you've got commercials and that, you can delineate it in an email, but there's nothing better than a short clip of that full ID with the name and the city and all that, the call sign. You've got that, you got the slogan, and it can ensure you an email reply verification. And I know a few people are still sending for prepared cards. There's a lot of stuff written that's out there. We've got a lot of stuff in the National Radio Club reprints on good reports. And that stuff's still out there. It's 30 and 40 years old, but it's still very, very valid today. Those are the same people that were out there QSLing when I started. And they're the ones that set the bar for me, how you could make a good report, be nice to the station, and get that station to respond to you. So that's what is really, really important.
Yeah, I remember, obviously having a DX family, I was able to get some guidance there on reception reports and things like that because mom, pretty avid on the shortwave side, dad on the AM side and things like that. But I do remember, his name was Tom. His last name slips my mind. He was the engineer at WSM in Nashville. And I remember him sending over, he said, this doesn't apply to your reception report because yours was good. He said, but, as a newer DXer, I thought you might appreciate this. And it was a whole write-up that I think he or someone else had completed on, how to do, what we expect from the radio person's, radio station side for reception reports. And that was really, really helpful. And I'll see if I can't dig that up and put that up on the website, dxcentralonline.com for our newer folks who are watching that we want some guidance. But I think, I know you talked about it, the thank you for the DX test kind of thing. I've always found that to be a huge part of it. Just very gracious in your reach out because you're asking them to take time out of their busy day, right? To give something to you that has nothing to do with their bottom line at all. So, the more gracious that we are in our requests, the more courteous we are, the more information we can give and make it easy for them. That's what I found has really helped my return rate. So things like you talked about, like the audio clip and things like that really make a big difference. So,
yeah, I think the person you're referring to, I think that was Tom Bryant.
Yeah, Tom Bryant, it was.
It was with WSM. And he was a good friend of National Radio Club member Doug Smith, who is still in Tennessee. And I had the fortune of meeting both of them gentlemen. They were out here for a FM club reception back in the 90s. Yep, back in the 90s. And it was up at Estes Park. So that was a real treat meeting both Tom and Doug when they were out.
Absolutely. You mentioned FM, and we talk about AM DXing. Do you do FM DXing as well?
No. I do no FM whatsoever. When the FM band is open, which is 880 to 107, just so happens 6 meters ham radio, which is 50 megacycles or megahertz. I go back to cycles. That's open, and I'm an avid amateur radio operator. And VHF Plus is my basic favorite. 6 meters, I've got 599 grid squares worldwide. I am 20-some grid squares away from working all of the grids in the continental United States, which is called the Fred Fish Memorial Award. He's the first one who ever did that. And that's basically where I spend my spring and summer. When others might be out there FM DXing on the FM band, I'm going to be out there in 6 meters, and a lot of times up on 2 meters. I have VUCC on both 6 meters and on 2 meters. That's 100 grid squares confirmed. So I kind of never got into that because the ham radio kind of takes over that part of me when FM comes around.
Yeah, I know. I struggle with that myself. Right, when the conditions are right. When E-skip is, the maximum usable frequency is driving up higher and higher and higher into that FM band, that means 6 meters is wide open, 2 meters is probably about to get going. And so I find myself being torn there too. 10 meters as well. That's another one. When E-skip is going, 10 meters is usually going pretty well as well. So I find myself bouncing back and forth between 10 and 6. And, now especially, I can't stay in any location long enough to really accumulate too much. I have to completely start my VUCC all over. All my worked all state stuff is getting started over again for the third time in 10 years. So I'm definitely impressed and envious of those grids that you've gotten kind of maintaining in one location like that. That's fantastic.
Yep, it is quite some accomplishment. And I only did it because I managed to work for one place for 30 years before I retired.
We'll have more of our interview with Wayne Heinen of the National Radio Club in hour number 2 here on DX Central Live. But first, a quick break, and then we'll come back, and it's back to the live DX sessions right here on DX Central Live.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. From the pages of its DX Monitor Member Bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live. Thank you all for joining us as we continue along here this evening after our interview with our first segment of the interview with Wayne Heinen. We have another segment again coming up here in the second hour, but really happy to be able to bring Wayne to you all. Such a great opportunity to have a chance to converse with Wayne and pick his brain. The next hour, we're going to have our part of the conversation where we talked about the NRC itself and what goes into making the NRC AM radio log, that huge companion that every AM DXer really needs to have in the shack with them to be able to ID stations they're hearing as they're DXing. I have a copy sitting right here. I don't DX without it. I rely on that as much as I do my SDRs and all the other stuff that I have here. So we'll find out how that's put together. And then don't forget, tomorrow we'll have the entire interview in 3 segments uploaded to our YouTube channel right here. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, so you can be notified when those videos hit. And be sure to like and leave us a comment here on the stream and the other videos you watch here on the channel. That does help us out quite a bit, as you are aware, I'm sure. All right, let's get back to some live AM DX. And of course, this session of DX and live AM DX is brought to you by National Radio Club, NRC online, and I'm sorry, nationalradioclub.org. I'll get that right. Nationalradioclub.org is our website that you want to go to get more information about becoming a member to the NRC. Let's get back to some live AMDX right now. We've got about 18 minutes until the top of the hour, about 7 minutes or so before we go into top of the hour alert mode. Let's see. I'm on 9:10 right now. I think we're gonna come back. Let's come back to 9:10 here at the top of the hour and see if we can glean a top of the hour ID out. But you let me know here in the chat, here on the YouTube chat. Let us know if there's a frequency you want us to go to and check out to see, if you're maybe chasing after something or you're DXing there now and you want to see if we're hearing the same thing you are. Let us know in the chat. We'll go there and DX alongside with you. First, though, let me do something. I'm going to pull up. Let me go here to our DX window where we can see our Excel spreadsheet. So these are some stats that I'm running from from my logbook here, and it kind of helps me to be able to go in and know, how many stations I've heard on each frequency, how many stations I've heard on each from each state or each country or whatever, sunrise versus sunset, stuff like that. So I run some stats here out of my logbook. So let's take a look and see one of the frequencies that I have here, only a couple of stations logged. Let's stay in the 900s. Let's go to 930. Again, if you guys have a frequency you want us to check out, we'll do that as well. But let's go here to 930. I haven't gone there in a while. So let's switch back over to the Perseus and hit 930 and see what we find. Here in Mandeville, where we are now, we'll look at a couple of the stations we have so far here. We've got on 930, we have 2 stations in Florida. We have a Sarasota, Florida to be LSS, and we have Jacksonville, Florida to be FXJ. That's what we have so far here on 930. So let's see if we can find something new here. We're on the northwest wire here and the northeast wire here. Hey, there's Wayne. Hey, Wayne. Glad to have you here on the live stream with us. Thanks for jumping on here and also for the great interview. Really was so fun having a chance to finally have a chance to talk with you. And one of the things I'm doing here, you can see my hand down here, I have two vactrol boxes. Vactrols control the termination remotely on the CASs. The bottom controls this northeast wire. All right. There's an ID. Let's see who that is. Post-game show. Is that GAD? There's also a TAD in Quincy, Illinois. Let's go back and listen to that here. Oh, we missed. I didn't get the chance to grab the ID before it switched over. They're talking about Georgia. This is the Northwest CAS as well. They're Hawkeye. So I'm kind of pointing pretty close. I'm at 35 degrees. They're at 42 degrees for me. So pretty likely it's probably Gadsden. But I'm going to sit on. I'm not going to log it until I know. Let's go back live here. And I've got to be careful. I've got on lower sideband on 920, I've got Little Rock. And then on the upper, I've got a local here in New Orleans, WYLD. So I'm kind of crammed in between two decent signals here. Hey! Have I gotten the reload? No, I don't. That's a new log. I don't have Rouleau on 930 yet, so guess what? That's a new log, baby. I like to have fun with this stuff. If you guys get a new log or a new state, new country, I'll do the exact same thing too. We'll throw that up on the screen. We'll celebrate your victories as well. But definitely heard that Rouleau.
I haven't heard you in a while. I might need a refresh. That's pretty good. That's excellent, Carl. Is that a lullaby?
Let's see.
You almost sound slightly romantic there.
And yes, we are now in, there it is again. We're in top of the hour mode now, folks.
More Hollywood 360 after these important messages. 3.2 million cats enter animal shelters every year. Sadly, over half of them are euthanized. So now, when you buy a green jug of Cat's Pride Fresh and Lightweight, we will donate a pound of litter to shelters across the country. No aspirin.
There's 3 and they're all 1K. Last heard in Brasstown. So we'll go ahead and log that guy here. Show you guys what I got going on here. Just putting everything in my logbook.
Yeah, he's pretty well, pretty great. Well, we had all the guys and some of the people from Red Rocket.
Okay.
Yeah, his first option, Baker, writers, directors.
Great. So what movies should we be looking for? What do you think is going to get nominated this year?
Well, the Oscar awards next quarter.
Yeah, also we know who was nominated, but who do you think is going to win?
No, we don't know how many. Okay. So it's announced in February. The awards are March 27th. So for Best Picture, I was going to talk about film. Yeah, film. I have not reviewed that yet. Hollywood 360. I just
So you get sent all, because you're in the Academy, you get sent all these films. She sees all these films way ahead of time, and I'm very jealous of that. So Belfast is one of them?
Yeah, and it's drawn. You know, and he was although he is born before and it is all about
Take care, Sal. Thank you for stopping by. I'm guessing, I think this is some sports talk here in front.
And she did the piano years ago.
Well, maybe not.
This takes place in the 1920s on campus.
Okay.
And then the summer bench
We're going to pop back down to 910 here in a bit. Check that out. I'm hearing that country music, or the country Christmas music in there. You're saying that's Bainbridge. Let me. We'll come back to the Perseus because it's recording. And so we have here on 930. We're on East-West right now. I got Christmas music. You can hear. I'm guessing that's Brunswick. We'll see who this other one with the commercial is.
That's 800-871-1592. 800-871-1592. You have questions. AM 930 WLSS. Sarasota. AM 930. The answer.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm guessing that's MGR then. In addition to LSS.
y cuidemos gratuitamente Dish Anywhere. Ahora puedes ver televisión en vivo desde tu computadora, teléfono o tablet. Y es un control remoto de voz gratuito, instalación gratuita y canales de películas gratuitos. Dile adiós al cable y obtén más por menos dinero con Dish TV.
Yeah, I think that's Jacksonville, Earl.
Ahora, y si tienes una tarjeta de regalo de Visa, ahora es el momento perfecto para ahorrar al reducir su costo de cable y obtener Dish TV. Llama ahora 800-630-1599. 800-630-1599. 800-630-1599. Oferta de tiempo limitado, compromiso de 24 meses, calificación de crédito requerido. Se aplican tarifas de cancelación, tarifas mensuales de equipo y otras restricciones. La promoción puede cambiar en cualquier momento.
No tiene miedo de poner sobre la mesa sus puntos de vista. Viene a decir las cosas como son, con su experiencia como una de las figuras más importantes de la radio y la televisión. Ahora, desde los estudios de Acción 97.9 y en el iHeartRadio app, con ustedes, Héctor Marcano. El Marcano en vivo.
I'm hearing a second Spanish station in there too. Oh, is that what that is? So it kind of sounds like Trans-Siberian. Let's pop back over here onto the Jaguar. And let's go back to top of the hour here. Let's see if we had anything come in besides LSS. 800-871-1592. It's LSS. And there's the Spanish station. So the northeast Cas was hearing the same thing the east-west loop was.
que hemos llevado nosotros.
Man, I wish that GAD, TAD, whatever would have come back. I really want that one. Let's check and see what we had here on 910. At the top of the hour. This is on the Northeast Wire. Anybody know who that is with the top of the hour time pips like that? I've heard that a couple times now here on 910. So if anyone else has noticed that in your listening sessions this week on 910, then definitely let me know because I want to know who that is. Probably one already have, more than likely, but if not, I'd like to be able to add somebody else. It's usually about 2 seconds after the top of the hour, 1 to 2 seconds. And that was at 4 or 5 seconds there, so don't hear any IDs in there either. We did add the radio low in this listening session we just had on 9:30 with the Morse code IDs, but that's all we grabbed on that session. Let's get back out of red mode here. We're out of top of the hour alert. We can go back to regular programming here. All right, let's take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to have our second segment with Wayne Heinen, where we talk about the National Radio Club and why you need to be a member, and what all goes into making the NRC AM radio log, this big behemoth that I have here on the desktop with me, that goes with me whenever I DX. I have to have this with me. So we're going to talk with Wayne about what goes into making this guy and what goes into actually making the NRC function, what makes it happen with the DX News Bulletin that you guys have a chance to subscribe to, either the print or the EDX version. So we'll talk to him about that and a bit more. And then don't forget, we're going to have the entire interview up on YouTube. Hopefully tomorrow. It's just going to be a while. We have 3 segments we have to upload. Pretty big segments. So we'll have that up there tomorrow here on the YouTube channel. But we'll come back. We'll have our segment 2 with Wayne. And then from then on, it's nothing but the DX for the rest of the night. So if you have a frequency you want us to go check out, make sure you let us know in the chat here. And we'll go from there right here on DX Central Live.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teak Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teakpublishing.com for more information. That's teakpublishing.com. From the pages of its DX Monitor Member Bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
Hey, welcome back to DX Central Live. I'm Lloyd Van Horn, bringing you live AMDX and a whole lot more here on DXC Live here for Season 2. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your support. You guys were fantastic in our first season. And can't wait to really get here into Season 2 and have a good chance to see what's ahead of us, right? See what DX is ahead of us, who we're going to have on the show. I have some ideas for the next couple ones, but we shall see. Let's get ready here. We're about to do our second segment here with Wayne Heinen of the National Radio Club, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do some more live DX. You saw I was here on 9:10 here when we closed out our top of the hour stuff that we were doing. We're doing our big medium wave frequency challenge. For all week, we've been having everyone DX together on 9:10, so we're going to close that out here in the next hour for the week, and then we're going to tabulate who has the most logs contributed. Make sure that you are in our chat right now, because I'm about to throw the link for the Google form up into the chat. That way, if you have a log you want to submit, you have a chance to do that here before we close out and stop submissions for the week. And then we'll announce our frequency for the next week, what we're going to be doing between now and our next live stream that we have. But first, let's get back to... we have our DXC one-on-one premiering tonight. We had our first segment earlier in the first hour, kind of some casual DX conversation with Wayne Heinen of the National Radio Club. Now we're going to talk a bit about the NRC itself with Wayne and what goes into putting together the NRC log, what goes together, what kind of is part of how the DX news gets put together, the bulletin that we all rely on so much throughout the DX season for station updates to see what everyone else is hearing in the loggings, musings, things like that. So segment 2 with Wayne Heinen right now on DXC One-on-One.
Bringing you some of the biggest names in the DX community. This is DXC One-on-One.
And welcome back to DX Central Live and DXC One-on-One, our interview with Wayne Heinen of the National Radio Club. Now, in this segment, Wayne's going to actually be talking about the club and why you should be a member and what goes into making that very important NRC AM radio log, something you're definitely going to want to check out. Also, don't forget you can check the entire interview out, the full uncut, almost hour and a half interview we did with Wayne right here on our YouTube channel. So sit back and relax. More of our interview with Wayne Heinen is coming up right here on DX Central Live's DXC One-on-One. We're talking with Wayne Heinen from the National Radio Club and just an avid DXer here. We're talking to him about AM DX and now a little ham radio in there as well. Let's switch gears just a little bit to talk about the NRC. As the chairman of the board of the NRC, from a leadership role, you're kind of helping to guide the current direction and the future of the club. I remember, I think my first memories of you was when you were the editor of the Domestic DX West Digest, right, in the DX News, and seeing your name there and kind of knowing you and seeing what you were doing in DXing
And, you were one of those names, people like you and Bruce Conti and Mark Connolly, some of these names that always just kind of stuck in there. And I said, wow, that's someone who's really, the DX they're getting is the kind of stuff I want to get. So that's kind of my early memories of you. Talk a bit about your journey in the NRC. You talked about kind of starting out in the 60s, your journey here in the NRC and kind of what got you going into where you are today as chairman of the board.
Well, a lot of that happened. I was just your run-of-the-mill DXer, and we had a rough go here back in the 80s with a member that took the AM radio logbook and he put it into a computer, and then he decided that he was going to actually sell it back to the club in order for us to continue publishing it. And I want to say that happened in the late 80s, early 90s. And at that point, me and another gentleman, Jeff Tynan, he was an NRC member for many years, and he still DXs. He's now a retired airline pilot, lives in Missouri. And we actually typed the whole log in ourselves, recreated it, and I started publishing the log here in 1991. Mm-hmm. And that was my first issue. I think it was the 13th edition of the AM radio log. And after that, it just became a matter of I was here and they needed a board member and they asked me to be part of the board. And I did. And then I stuck around, and for many, many years, Ken Chatterton up in New York was the chairman. Mm-hmm. And as we all age, we all get to a point where sooner or later it catches up with us. And when it did, Ken decided to step down, and I became the chairman of the board. So I've been the chairman now on and off for probably close to 15, 17 years now. Mm-hmm. And I've tried to carry it through a number of improvements like the what we call EDXN, which started out as a message board. And over time, we found that actually the message board concept really didn't work that well. And we took it to a PDF edition, which many people subscribe to now because the cost is lower. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to get it in your mailbox, and you can print it at your leisure or read it online. Either one is a PDF. And we still, of course, have the venerable old DX News magazine, which I happen to have one right there. I got to look over here to make sure I got it at the camera. And we're still printing a print edition, and we've got actually right around 300 members who subscribe to the print edition and the print edition only. Mm-hmm. We have quite a few members who subscribe to both the print and the EDXN because they like to get the print, but they also like the timeliness of the early edition of EDXN, and then, of course, EDXN. When we went to EDXN, one of the things we did do that was interesting, we picked up a whole bunch of members in Europe. Mm-hmm. Because before we had to charge outrageous amounts of money because of the postage. Well, ain't no postage in the internet. It's just what you pay for your provider. So with that in mind, EDXN took off. And between the two of them, we currently have somewhere around the order of 500 members who are considered actual members of the National Radio Club with full privileges, which include contributing to the publications, and then also the availability to buy all our publications at a discount. You mentioned the National Radio Club AM Radio Log. Here's the cover, and then you can see that right there.
Yeah, right.
Something about DX Central. Yeah. Anyway, that was on the cover. I heard that DX test here, WEN on it. And then quite a few of the other stations are on there. And what we do is I gather a bunch of these from the pages of the DX News EDXN. And then about a month before it's time to go to press, I slap a bunch of them together and see what looks good. And then we create a new cover. So if you have a logbook, well, shameless plug, if you don't have a logbook, go to nationalradioclub.org. That's all one word. and then go to Publications on Publications tab. And that'll take you to the books. And there you can download a copy of the full color cover that you can add to your copy of the AM Radio Logbook. Member price is postpaid, $30.95. Non-member price, postpaid, $37.95. If you buy it online through PayPal, there's a slight upcharge there for PayPal, or you can send a check or money order to the headquarters, which is out here. I handle the publications. Either way, you can get your logbook, and then you can have that nice full color cover to put on your on the front of your log once you've got it mounted in your 3-ring binder.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the cover has always been since my very first edition, I think, which was probably 91, 92, because I had an old copy when I first started DXing. The dad said, I'm not using this one. Here, you can take this one. Just sitting there and looking at all the stations on the cover, and just, trying to imagine hearing some of those. Some of them I would recognize because they were ones that I would hear, but then the ones that were more exotic, for me on the East Coast, it was all the stuff out west with the K call letters, right? Those are the ones that was, oh, wow, I wonder what that station sounds like. I'd love to hear that one, things like that. So that's always been a good memory. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the NRC logbook, a huge proponent of it. We now live in a world that's very digital. There are a lot of online resources that are out there that provide station information, but I always tell everyone, new or old DXer, you can find a lot of information out there, but you're not going to find the amount of information on AM stations in the U.S. that you will in the NRC logbook. Talk a bit about what goes into putting the logbook together, because there is so much information in there about networks and formats and everything else. Talk a bit about kind of what all goes into putting all that information together.
Well, the one thing is we've got a database, and the database evolved over time. And originally started as a flat file in AppleWorks back when I had an Apple IIe, and it and myself at work went from IBM MS-DOS to Windows, and it's all the way up now. We have an Access database running with Office 360, and that it's a relational database, and we tie everything together so that we can track, like translators. We're tracking all the new translators so that we can list them in the log. The one thing that we do is many members, many users who aren't members, they'll email me changes when they spot something that has changed since the last edition of the log. Format change, a station that has changed their network affiliations, especially news. News is an important one. Mm-hmm. That we can't find off of a website. A lot of times I'll go out, I'll get a snippet. Oh, I heard Mike Humphreys, I think, is one of them. And he's a SRN. I heard that on a station, and I look at it, and then all of a sudden I don't see anything anymore. And it's just a little bit different. So you go out there and you look, and you go out to the internet, you grab all the stuff that they're carrying now, and you just go from there. And we have the codes, we update it. I also do a lot of updating using this. I go through the DX News, and to credit everybody else, I go through DX Monitor. Mm-hmm. I get an exchange copy each and every issue, and I look for changes. And I'll go in and somebody says, well, I'm hearing, Red Eye Radio. I'm hearing that on a station. I'll look and see what I've got. Well, maybe the last time I got an update, they were carrying coast to coast. Mm-hmm. So I'll change that. And I keep up to it almost on a weekly basis. Then we also have Sean Axelrod up in Canada, Bill Hale down in Texas. They're my data miners. They go out and they monitor the various publications. There's Radio Insight, Station Intel, let's see, northern pine, a variety of basically either hobby-driven or industry-driven sites that track all the changes. They get all that stuff, they bundle it up and send it to me 2 or 3 times a week, and then I sit there and I pound it all into the database. You'll also find what we call the NRC Logbook Updaters. There's one in each issue of DX News, and that has all of the changes I've made since the last 2 weeks. And usually that'll have 20, 30, 40, up to 150 stations that are listing changes that have happened since the last time I did that. Mm-hmm. And then just imagine what goes from there.
Yeah.
Then we compare all the logbook data to the FCC data. I've actually written routines. I was a computer programmer and a database manager for 20-some years with the Arapahoe County Assessor's Office. So I have a lot of experience mining data. And I'll go out there, download stuff, check and see what the FCC says today versus what we have in the logbook. And then when appropriate, update it. And when not appropriate, I'll get a hold of a guy named Dale Bickle. If you go to the AMQ at the FCC, their website and their query, he runs that. So every once in a while, I'll send a tidbit off to Dale saying, well, you're now saying this about that station. I disagree. Maybe you ought to go and see if somebody typoed that. And a lot of times he comes back and says, thank you very much. We've corrected our records.
Nice.
So, it goes both ways.
Nice.
And that's what goes into the front end. The back end, we do a huge data dump on the order of 15 megabytes of a text file. We run that into Publish, which is a Microsoft program. And we have a template that we've developed over time that creates the frequency loggings and then all of our lookups in the back. The latest one being the groups, where we group things together. If you have more than one station simulcasting at a time, like if you have an AM and an FM, we'll find that in the listing on the by frequency. But if you have a station with 2 or 3 or 4 translators and an FM, or maybe some of these groups that have grown big, there's 3 or 4 AMs with 5 or 6 translators, we group them, we give it a name, we preface it with GRP equals and that name. Now, as soon as you see that, you can go to the back of the book, look it up, tells you who's in the group. So if you hear a slogan with an FM and you don't quite find it, you got a group, go back and take a look and see if that group happens to have that FM tied to it. And there's going to be how you're going to identify your station.
What's that one group? It starts with an A. Allegheny Radio. That was one of the ones that comes to mind, right? Yeah.
Right. Allegheny Radio is 3 AMs and all 3 of their translators for a total of 6 stations. WTIV in Titusville, I think, sticks in my mind. And I think the other one's WMGW, and I don't remember Franklin's call. I used to live just north of there, so I'm familiar with all those little graveyard stations. And those things tie together. And if you hear the Allegheny network on the graveyard, you look that up. It's going to tell you who it is, even though you haven't heard the call sign. So all that stuff gets done. Then it gets formatted out in Word, and then we put it through the mill. We make a PDF. We make a copy, a markup copy. Joan and I both go through it looking for mistakes, like putting the wrong header on a page, and it should be 1230, but instead you have 1220. You get all that straightened out, and then we send it to the printer. And that's how the AM radio log is made each year.
Fantastic. It is such an important resource, and I really can't stress it enough for anyone who's watching this interview. I know there are a lot of websites you can go to get some basic information, but you're really not going to find the depth of information that's there in the log with things like the groups and the antenna patterns, knowing kind of what kind of antenna pattern they're running. You can find maybe power and things like that on some sites, but I don't think there's as much on antenna patterns on maybe like 1 or 2 sites. But then you add in the formats, you add in the network information. It's such an important thing to have in your arsenal to make sure that you carry. I always keep at least the last 2 editions with me in my shack as well, just in case if I'm going back and reviewing old recordings. I keep those as well as the most recent copy just to make sure that I can go back in time if I need to and see what was there at that time. And then obviously I'm making updates as the new DX News comes out and IRC Monitor. I'm DX Monitor. I'm going in and I'm I'm updating my log as well to keep it up to date because with that one binder, right, you've got everything you need to know. It's a huge resource. So I know it's a huge task to put together, but on behalf of the DX community, thank you, because it's important. It makes a big difference.
I appreciate that. I really do appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Thank you.
Some other questions about kind of the NRC. I've noticed IRCA now is starting to include things like contests in their publication and for the members to be able to contribute their logbook and things like that. Is that something that the NRC has thought of as well?
Actually, the NRC had contests going all the way back into the olden days, back in the 30s and 40s. We did run some contests in the, what did they say, the early 200s. I ran a bunch of contests. Mm-hmm. And our participation was very, very slow, very, very low. And at the time, I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't have the time, and I couldn't really find a contest manager that wanted to do it. And like with everything else, you've got to have the volunteers. So like you mentioned, Bruce Conti. We've got Bruce. We've got Mike Brooker. We've got Bill Hale. Very importantly, we've got David Yosis, who puts it all together. But then you got Barry Finkel, who does all of the sports networks, not networks, the sports affiliates for the football networks, the baseball networks. We've got an awful lot of people that put a lot of work in to all the stuff that makes up the resources that are part of the National Radio Club and DX News in particular. So volunteers are hard to find.
Yeah.
One interesting thing, we had a board member pass away, David Schmidt, who was doing the musings and was a board member, passed away a while back. We had another vacancy, and it took me a while, and finally, I know this will be coming out after it actually hits DX News, or actually it won't, so I won't announce that yet. But we do have 2 new board members. For those who subscribe to DX News and the DX EDXN, those are going to be in the issue that comes out on Monday, and I think this is coming out on Saturday. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll just hold off on those 2. But we will finally be back up to 5 board members because I was able to find some people to do it. Mm-hmm. Behind the scenes, we have Bill Swiger. He runs our reprint service out of West Virginia. All the old stuff that's not been scanned in, you can still get paper copies. Mm-hmm. And then Mark DiLorenzo, he runs our Facebook page. Our Facebook page now, the last time I looked a day or 2 ago, we're just shy of 900. No, we're just shy of 1,000 members. I think it was 997 members to the NRC Facebook group. So, it takes a lot of people to run all that stuff. Myself and Russ Edmonds, a former publisher who's in New Jersey now, we take care of the National Radio Club reflector, NRC-AM. So, all these people involved. It's not just me. It's a whole cadre of people. I'm the one who usually gets out here and gets to talk. And they make me look good. Thanks goes to them, too.
Absolutely. And then even people like the Courtesy Program Committee, folks like Les Rayburn, and the committee there, which I am part of, which has been a lot of fun to be part of the group that's helping to bring the DX tests to the community and being able to see that process behind the scenes. There's a lot of work that goes into that, reaching out to the stations and things like that. So definitely kudos to them as well. I know that's a cross effort between the NRC and the IRCA. A lot of across work between the two clubs to put those out. So definitely a big kudos to them as well. Let's get into our 10 questions. Actually, I do have one more question here for you. 2 more questions. Where do you see DX in regards to AM/DX, especially in the next 5 years? What changes do you think might come down the line?
I really don't see a whole bunch. They no matter how hard they try, they can't get us off of AM, amplitude modulation. They want it all to go to digital, but the only way they're going to get that to happen, and I don't want to see it happen this way, would be from on high, the FCC, in conjunction with whoever else, come down on high and say everybody's got to do this. Well, what you're going to do to the radio industry is you're going to shut it down. Yeah. Because in this day and age, nobody has the money to go out and totally trash out everything you've got right now and replace it with a whole brand new technology. Not to mention, you're going to do that? What are you going to do with the radios? Mm-hmm. I got a whole bunch of radios, gang. I got an R8B sitting behind me. That's my go-to when I actually want to reach out and twiddle that dial.
Oh, yes.
That's my go-to. And it's sitting right there. All I have to do is flick it on, turn a switch on a coax switch, boom, I'm up and running.
Such a great
my
radio.
My antennas go straight to that as opposed to going to the SDR. Yes, it's an excellent radio. I've thought about selling it a couple of times, but then I said, I don't use it that much, but when I use it, I enjoy it. So I'm going to keep it.
Absolutely.
And then I got a car. You got a car. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got a car. Okay, we're going to come up with the XYZ standard. Everybody who doesn't have a brand new 2022, well, nope, they're already out, 2023 car after we make the change, everybody's got to trash their radios. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it ain't going to happen in 5 years. Yeah. 50? I mean, I won't be here in 50 years. I'm not going to worry about it. So, for those who might be curious, I'm 71. So that gives you an idea how long I've been doing this since I started in 1963.
Outstanding.
But I don't see it changing very much at all.
At least not in the short term. Yeah, I think, part of my interest in my SDR recordings and kind of stockpiling, I've got terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of AM/DX recordings that I'm kind of stockpiling, because I have this notion that I'll eventually go and review them all. We'll see. But B, I mean, if there ever does come a day where, 10, 20, 30 years down the line, they've decided to go all digital, I still want to have the ability to go back in and do that DX that might have now, in that scenario, no longer be either possible or as interesting or fun. So, I hope it doesn't happen. I think there's always going to be a need for this kind of analog approach to be able to get information out to people. So hopefully they don't go all digital, because that wouldn't be fun. What do you see as far as the NRC as well? As we continue to grow and kind of move forward here in the hobby, what do you see for the DX news or for the AM Logbook or just the NRC in general here in the next 5-10 years?
I don't see very much of a change. Yeah. We switched our publisher to a little ma and pa out here in Colorado. Actually, the lady Amanda Alden is the representative I use with Peak Printing, and she's a ham radio operator, K1DDE. She's part of I believe it's Ham Nation, which is an online ham magazine type thing. Mm-hmm. And since we've been doing that, we've been tracking it. We've had right around 300 subscribers to the print edition, going back the last 7 years that we've been publishing in Canyon City. And it just doesn't go away. Mm-hmm. I don't see it going away. For every one I might lose, unfortunately, a lot of them end up being silent keys, and because a lot of the group is aging. But then there's a lot of newer people coming in, like yourself, Lloyd. Another one is Paul Walker, who's up in Alaska. He's a rather a younger gentleman, and some people just kind of stumble into the hobby because it's still out there, and there's people that are out there promoting it on various platforms. So I don't see it changing. I don't see the logbook changing. I'm looking at hopefully myself continuing. If something happens to me, hopefully we've got somebody that can come in from the club, pick up the pieces, and carry it from there. I've actually tried to build all my stuff so it can go to the next guy, and they don't have to have the 20 years of programming experience to make it work. They can use it using just the buttons and the whistles that I've created for my own convenience, but then I've also tried to make it so we can definitely pass it on. Another publication, the Antenna Pattern Book. Bill Hale's looking at putting another one out within the next 18 months because it's getting old. Patterns don't change, fortunately, as much as station call signs do. But there is a lot of changes that happen all the time. So we need to keep track of that. We need to keep that resource current for everybody. And I just don't see it going away. Yeah. I don't see all of us just dropping off the face of the earth unless the rapture comes. And the rapture comes, we'll all be gone, and the AM stations won't be broadcasting anyway, so who cares?
And once again, a big thank you to Wayne Heinen of the National Radio Club for joining us here on our debut of DXC One-on-One right here on DX Central Live. If you enjoyed what you saw tonight, be sure to check out the full uncut interview right here on our YouTube channel. We'll have more DX Central Live coming up here in just a few moments, and we're going full all in on a live AM DX session and a deep dive into our medium wave frequency challenge on 910 kilohertz. So make sure you stick around for that. More DXC Live coming up right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AM/DX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AM/DXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AM/DXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News member bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
And welcome back to DX Central Live. We're in hour 2 now. So happy to have you here with us on a very fun Saturday evening. Want to thank again Wayne Heinen from the National Radio Club for joining us for our interview this evening. We have 3 segments we'll be uploading to YouTube tomorrow, so make sure you subscribe now to the channel. That way you'll be notified when those come up and become available. You want to make sure you click the bell icon and receive the alerts on those as well. So be sure to go here on the YouTube channel and hit subscribe and the bell icon, and you'll be notified when those new interviews are coming up. You know, we talked with Wayne. He mentioned the antenna pattern book. Here it is right here, the 2018 edition. This is such a great resource, and I didn't really kind of go into detail on it on the interview, but you'll see here you have a map and you can kind of see the antenna pattern for each of these stations, and then you have your station list to kind of match it up, right? So this is 750, so there's all the stations on 750, and you can see, like, you know, here WSB has this very, you know, omnidirectional full circle, and you can kind of see from here if there's a lobe in a certain direction or a null. You don't have to go online, look it up. You don't have to go to Radio Locator or any of those others. It's right in the book. So I'm very excited to hear that a new edition of that is coming our way soon. So looking forward to that. All right, we are approaching. Let me get that back in the cabinet there. We are approaching top of the hour time frame here, and that means top of the hour alert. That means we're looking for IDs, and right now with our medium wave frequency challenge of the week, that means we're sitting on 910 kilohertz. We've gotten so many responses from you guys, so many log stations. Let's do another check and see kind of where we are now. Oh, we are almost to 80. We're actually just under 75 right now. We're at 73 total responses. So if you have some logs that you want to contribute from 910 kilohertz, get them in now. Go to the chat here on the live stream, and you can contribute those through the link that we put up in the chat. I'll put those up again here in a second. But first, let's go ahead and get back to the live DX and see what we can hear here on 910. We're going to start off on the northwest wire. We heard last hour, I heard some time pips at the top of the hour. Some folks in the chat said that was probably WSUI carrying PBS BBC programming at the top of the hour. WSUI is up in Iowa. That would be a new one for us here. So we're going to go back up. We're going to throw on the northwest wire. We're also going to throw, we've got, let me put this back up, north-south here on the loop over on the ELAD FDM S3. We've got that up and running as well with our W6 LVP loop. Let's get that on 910 kilohertz. And I've got the rotor moving right now back up to due north. So we're going to try that out and see if we can get between either the Northwest CAS or that W6 LVP loop, see if we can get WSUI in Iowa to add to the log. That'll give us 11 stations here on 910 since October 1st. So very hopeful that we can add that one in there. So let's go ahead and get that started now. It's almost back up to full due north. So let's go ahead and hit play on our Perseus Jaguar software, and let's go. We are actually now in top of the hour time frame. So let's go ahead and get that going. Top of the hour alert means we are going live, and this hour of DX is brought to you by the International Radio Club of America. IRCAonline.org is where you want to go for more information about becoming a member of the IRC today. So let's go ahead and get this going. Real quick shout out to my LSU Tigers beating Texas A&M tonight. Yes. And a big shout out to the Clemson Tigers beating South Carolina in their rivalry game. Wife is a Clemson alum, and I'm an LSU guy, which a couple years ago was a fun night. Tonight, we're being powered by Irish Channel Stout from NOLA Brewing Company. So this is on the Jaguar. Let's go over here and see what we're hearing on the Perseus rather, through the Jaguar software. Let's see what the SDR console and the ELAD are hearing with the W6 LVP loop. We got the loop pretty much north-south. Which should give us a pretty good look at the SUI. I'd like to throw it right at him here. Nice Hawkeye, Rick. I saw that Minnesota beating Wisconsin. That was nice to see as well. And Ohio State going down, right? If only Auburn could have come through and beaten Alabama, it would have been a perfect weekend. They almost did. They tried. We're going to send this W6 LVP loop. I want to point it right. There's our head. I'm at 50 degrees here, roughly. That's our head from 909 in Great Britain. Let's go ahead and I want to point this right at WSUI here in Iowa. We're going to target them right now. So they're at, if you look over here on our Jaguar software, they're at 355 degrees. So I'm taking this loop and I'm pointing it right at 355-ish. I just want to point it right at them. They had it at 0, which is probably close enough, but I don't want there to be any doubt here. I want to point it right at them. Here we go. We have a Buckeye fan over here. I have a buddy of mine that's a big Michigan guy, so I had to give him some love. And we are recording still up here on the, for our top of the hour recordings that we do. We're doing those up here on the Perseus. And we're on the northwest wire at 305 degrees. Wait. Was that an ID? Okay, you guys are going to have to help me out with this one. We're going to rewind this back and forth a bit. I've got a great ID here, but I can't pull it out. So let's see who we got here. This was right at 55 after. And we'll hear Pioneer in there. Let's switch it. We're in upper sideband. Let's go to the lower sideband and see if they're any louder on the lower side. Okay, no, they're not any better over there. Let me switch our EQ. Okay, I've got a K. It's a K station. Okay, I think I know who that is. One more time for the homies. There's your clue right there. Pioneer Station of... The Pioneer Station of the Texas Hill Country is KNAF Fredericksburg. Got me all excited. Thought we had a new one. Thought we were up north here somewhere. But after KCJB, I was just thinking how great that would have been if it had been them. But nope, that was KNAF. I'm throwing a link back in the chat right now. Oh, man. There we go. Throwing the link back in the chat right now for the Google form for the frequency challenge. All right, we are recording on the Perseus, so let's go back over to the SDR FDM ELAD. Is that what you're hearing, Earl? Yeah. Isn't that how it always goes? Right at the top of the hour. There is a 1 kilowatt station to my north here in Baton Rouge, WEBR. They do Ranchera. Could be them. They're a possibility, at least. I never did hear that top of the hour time pip. So let's go back to the Jaguar now, or the Perseus rather, with the Jaguar software. Let's go back to the top of the hour and see what we caught. I would think Missouri would have a big heaping helping of KVIS there in Oklahoma. Perhaps, maybe. I haven't looked at their pattern. What you're witnessing right now is one of my favorite things about the Jaguar software that we use for Perseus. It's the ability to do live recording review. So a little note about that, actually. We're at what, 03 after? Okay. I'm going to go live right now on the Perseus. So even if if I wasn't recording, which I do at the top of the hour, most hours at night, even if I wasn't recording, it's always recording an 8-minute window at all times. So it'll record 8 minutes of the entire band, okay? And then at the end of the 8 minutes, it goes back over and begins to write a new file on top of that one and does 8 minutes. And then they'll do the same thing. So if you're ever sitting there and you're listening and you hear all of a sudden an ID and you're like, what did he say? You want to rewind it. I can't do that in any of the other software out there. I can in the Jaguar Pro. I can go back and I can rewind and say, what did he say? And if it's something where I think I want to keep that recording, all I have to do is hit record, and that 8-hour window that I've recorded will stick. It'll keep. And then it keeps recording 8 minutes on top of that and keeps all of that until you tell it to stop. And then once it stops, now you're doing that 8-minute window, another 8-minute window on top of that, and then it keeps overriding the 8-minute window until you tell it otherwise. One of the things I absolutely rely on in the Jaguar software, it's like having a DVR for your AM radio. It makes DXing so much better, is having this functionality to be able to rewind and go back in the moment when you're doing the DX. You don't have to wait, finish recording the file and stop it and then go back and review like a lot of software makes you do. I can review while I'm in record live mode. Game changer, right? Game changer. So I'm going to run that WEBR stream and see if it's parallel here. Well, it doesn't look like it's got a stream up. Nope. That ain't them. Stephen, I can verify that they are religious in nature, so they don't really ranchera type music. There's not a lot, Robert, in Mexico that I could hear from here. At least there's some stuff out kind of Southern Cal area, but as you can see here, there's nothing on 910 other than McAllen. But they're a Christian station. They're not going to be playing that kind of music, right? Yeah, they're doing Christmas music right now. Yeah. So our options for Spanish stations on this frequency from here in Mandeville, I can tell you at least. We've got Radio Metropolitana in Cuba. They're there. They're not super duper loud. I haven't heard them as much since I moved to my northern end of the wires. When I had them facing towards the south at 125 degrees, they were a little more consistent. But even then, they weren't as loud as this one. Radio RCN, RACNA. They were the ones that were the loud one for me when I was facing south on my CAS. I was pulling this one in here in San Andres. Dominant. I mean, dominant just about every night. There were other stations kind of mixing with them underneath, but they were the predominant station just about every night when I was facing south. The other option that we've seen here, we do have a brief interlude with RQ here in it's YVRQ in Venezuela. They're noted by their little doorbell that you can hear in between songs when they do their little time checks. But I haven't heard them since I switched my CAS back to the northern facing orientation that we're in now. And then we also have here KRIO in McAllen, Texas. They are a religious Spanish station. And as Mike said, right now they're doing Christmas music. There's also this one here, WBR in Baton Rouge. They are a 1K, I think it is, nighttime station. 51 watts. So they're very, very low power at night. But they do ranchera music. Now, they typically are very good about being on their nighttime power, the nighttime pattern. I haven't had them. If they were not, I'd be getting blown out from them here in Mandeville because I'm just to the east of them. If you look here where the U in WBR is, that's kind of where I'm sitting here, right here on the north shore of the lake. So I'd be getting them very, very loudly. But they do get out, and I would expect in Missouri that they would be pretty good because I get a lot of stuff from Missouri here in Louisiana. We're kind of on that similar longitude line. It was latitude, the vertical one. I always get those mixed up, which one's which. We're no longer in top of the hour mode, so let's go ahead and get back to normal lighting. Come on. There we go. And we'll switch back over to our normal presentation here on the Perseus Jaguar software. Let's do a little bit more here on 910, see what else we can hear, if we hear anything from any of those other Spanish stations. And we'll continue here on the medium wave frequency challenge on 910. Greetings, Johnny. Hello, friend. Welcome, welcome. We were just talking about one of your stations down there in Venezuela here on 910 kilohertz. One of my very excited moments was getting to receive them here in Louisiana. Just heard an ID. Let's go rewind. KNAF, is that what you guys heard? Yeah, I'm hearing that KNAF ID in there. They're not super dominant, but man, they're just always around. Anytime I'm like, oh, I got something here. I had one I chased the other day, and I thought it was something again. I thought it was something up further to my north here, and it was KNAF. So they're just kind of there always. So there they are. We're back live again. That country music you're hearing now is KNAF. Again, we're on the Northwest Wire. Yeah, I haven't heard them yet. I haven't heard Frisco yet. That does surprise me too, because I usually have a nice little like pipeline to the northern Texas Dallas area. Who's doing the barking dogs? Let's go back there. Okay, there was I think I heard an ID in there, but it was muffly. So let's there's Buck. That's got to be KNAF. That's their style of country. That's right up KNAF's alley. They're much more on the classic country side of things. Daddy's Hands? Is that song, Daddy's Hands? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yep. That could be. Let me play with the vactrol here a little bit, see if I can get them to come in a bit stronger. That Spanish station's talking. It could be RSANA, San Andreas. Let's try. So Earl, it's considered, depending on who you ask, it's RC in Colombia, so it's a Colombian-owned island. It's a Colombian network. The ARRL considers it's a separate country for ham radio purposes. IRCA considers it a separate country for medium wave DX purposes. I think it was Medium Wave list considers it Columbia. And Bruce Conti saw it somewhere that someone else had it listed as its own country. So I went ahead and said, you know what? If IRCA and Bruce Conti say it's good, and ARRL all say it's a separate country, I'm going for it. It is off the coast of Nicaragua, but it's Colombian owned. So kind of like, I guess we have Puerto Rico out in the middle of the Caribbean that's ours here in the U.S., but you know, it's its own country on AMDX, its own country on ARRL and so forth. So SDR Musing is my man coming in and joining us here. How do I get around copyright stuff? We have gotten hit a couple times. To answer your question, we've gotten hit on especially FMDX. FMDX is the tough one because it typically is more hit music, kind of current music, and they're a little more restrictive on that. I did get a copyright strike. Ironically, it wasn't even a live stream I was doing with an audience. I had set up a private stream just for myself. And what I was doing is I was streaming my computer in my shack with my FM, my ELAD FFD MS3, and my Yagi. And I just had it on. I was listening on the bottom end of the band or somewhere in the middle. I think it was right around 92 something, listening for an opening to see if anything was going to come up. And I left that running all day. And every once in a while, pull up my phone. I'd look and see, oh, nothing's going on right now. Everything looks good. I got hit with a copyright strike. We have a warning on the channel because of that. On a stream that wasn't even visible to anybody except for myself. It was only for private use. I have gotten copyright claims on a lot of my videos. This one will probably get hit as well. We had some songs in there earlier that I'm, Bing Crosby Christmas music seems to get, I remember last year getting hit with that. We've gotten copyright claims, and basically what that means is if the channel was monetized, which is not yet monetized, but if it was, any money from the stream would go to those copyright people, not to me. So that's what we're facing. So I'm really hoping that I can get a hold of somebody at YouTube and kind of talk to them about the channel, because I don't want to lose the channel and all the great stuff that we do here because of something like that. So especially not when one of those the strike that I have on the channel right now was for a completely private stream I just had for myself. That just seems stupid. The not being monetized, it doesn't really get me around anything right now. It's really because if I was monetized, those copyright claims where they're like, hey, you've got our song in there, they don't take your video down for it, but they do basically say, okay, any money you would have gotten from this stream is going to go to those people who have those songs that you had in your stream, not you. And so if I was monetized, that's where I would lose the money. I'm not monetized right now. I want to be because I wasn't going to do it. But now they're playing ads even on non-monetized YouTube channels. So because I'm not monetized, they're still playing ads on my videos. And if they're going to play ads on my videos, that money needs to come back to the channel, to us. So I'm striving to get monetized. So that's why we're doing some things this year to kind of beef up a little bit. So I'm trying to get monetized that way so that if they're going to play ads on my channel, I at least want the money coming to me, not to them. So that's where we're at. Yeah, it wouldn't be, the monetization wouldn't be a very big amount for me, but if they're going to put ads on my channel anyway, I want it. I want that revenue coming in here so we can put it back into the channel for more equipment or radios or antennas or whatever, so we can do more for you guys. I don't want it going back to YouTube or some random person that they're making money off of my videos. That just seems, I don't like it. Can you tell it gets me fired up? Yeah, it's a tricky slope, man. It really is. So I envy you, because with your streams you don't have as much like content usually. You can put those meteor scatter searches like that up, and man, that works so well. And I wish I could do stuff like that, but with these, I would just get annihilated. So I don't do FMDX anymore live until I can figure out a way around it. AM, I feel like I'm a little bit better because I have so much more like news talk and non-commercial like current music. I'm a little safer, a little bit, not as much, but yeah. And Mike, I know, actually I'm on the wrong SDR here. I know that sometimes you'll see, Mike, some of these stations rebroadcast after the game is already over. They'll rebroadcast. It's a little early for that. They usually do those later at night. But I have seen that before. So it could be Oklahoma or Oklahoma State Network. I don't know. Unless there was highlights coming from like an ESPN, like Sports Center or something like that, maybe. I don't know. I think this gospel station that we're hearing right now is Meridian. I would assume to be MOG. This is my north-south loop. Yeah. There's that ranchera again. Let's go back over here to the Kaz in the Perseus and see what we've got going on here on the northeast wire. See if we hear that Meridian again. Got a big cluster of carriers right here, and then two kind of outliers out here and out here. This one's at about 0150 or so. This one's a bit weaker at 909.995. Robert, so to answer your question about the offsets, they can. Not always, they can. Which you'll see sometimes. Let me show you an example here. Where's a good one here? Let me go to 50. I think 1540 is probably the best example I can think of. We're on the northwest wire here. This is a little more exaggerated. So you'll have these. Let me zoom out a little bit so I can get him. you'll have these carriers, and what I'm looking at right now on my screen, these are, each of these lines are obviously carriers, and you'll see it here on their waterfall as well as it kind of fills in. You'll see, red lines as being carriers. So I've got one here at 1539.9836. There are sources where you can go out and you can look at those offsets. Medium Wave List is one of those. MediumWavelist.org. That's mwlist.org. You can get offset lists from there, and then basically DXers from around the world will basically report where those offsets are being heard for different stations. So in this case, let me see if there's a 98.3-ish. There's one here in Ontario at 9833, which it could be on my Northeast wire. It's possible. It could also be, let's see, 993. It could be this Virginia station, WLT. They're being reported at 1539.98. So you see these that'll pop up. It's not an exact science. It's not always an exact match. There are exceptions to the rule. I was going to see here, the best known example is 1540.204. So they're a bit higher up. I don't have them on this Zoom. Let me go back out again. Here they are. 1540.2 right here, way off to the right-hand side. You'll see this offset right here. That is WKVQ in Eatonton, Georgia. So if I put my marker here, I'm going to put it back on my... Now, if they were coming in a little bit better, I would hear gospel music here. And that's their known format. So you can sometimes use these. I use these a lot with Latin American stations. I'll do it a lot here on, for instance, if I go down to 1090. Wow. Wait, what's going on here? Did someone go digital? On 1090? Anyway, this frequency, there are, when I have my antenna in the southern configuration, there are Colombian stations that are offset a bit from the main 1090 frequency that you'll be able to see, kind of up here. Like I think one of them is around 018 or 019. There's another one around like 04, somewhere in there. There's also down here at 976, there's a station in Peru, Radio Vision in Tumbes, Peru. I've found them down there. That's how I always know. If it's a good Latin night, I come to 1090 and I say, do I see the Colombians? Do I see the Peruvian? If I see them there, if I even see the faint signal, I know it's going to be a great Latin night because I've got, a decent shot at those. So that's little things like that you can use as clues. If you know where some of these are, you can use them as clues. If it's like 1540.0001 or versus 0003, that's not going to be as helpful. But when you have some of these that are a little bit more offset from the side, those can be very helpful for you. Let's go back to 910. Thanks, Earl. And this software that I'm using right now, by the way, Robert, is not the only one that does this. You can do this as well with SDR console. You have to really zoom in tight. It's not going to be as the same display here. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. So if I zoom in really, really tight here, and I got to slow down my, I forget how to do this sometimes, speed. Here we go. Let me slow it down to about a 3, I think is where it needs to be. when you slow it down, you actually see the individual carriers here in SDR console. So this is another way you can do that as well, depending on how tightly you zoom in. If you go to like a graveyard frequency, you're going to see tons of these things. But you'll see here on 910, I've got what I've got here, and that corresponds on my Jaguar with Perseus. Pretty close, actually, yeah. That's pretty close. Let me go back live here. 73 Earl. So yeah, you'll see here on SDR console. Now compare that, what we're seeing here on that display, with what I have here. It's pretty close, right? It's pretty close. So Jaguar is not the only one. It makes it easier because it actually kind of displays it, the offset, and as you'll see here. That's part of why I wanted to get a Perseus and Jaguar, was for this offset stuff. But you don't have to. All right, we're going to do about another, we'll do about another 20 minutes here on 910, and then we're going to close out the medium wave frequency challenge on this frequency, and we'll start compiling the numbers. We'll move to another frequency and do some DX there afterwards. But we'll do one more top of the hour cycle here on 910, finish it up, let everyone get their logs submitted in, and then we'll change over to a new frequency for the night. And then we'll, at the end of the show, we'll announce who our winners were of the challenge, and we'll also announce our new frequency for the next medium wave frequency challenge for the week. So that's coming up a bit later on here in the stream. But for now, we're going to stay on 910 for just a bit more. We're on the northeast wire here, northwest wire here. Let's go back to the northeast. Got a Spanish station in there again. Let's see what else we got. And if you have a frequency you want us to tune to, let us know in the chat. I'd be more than happy to do that, especially once we finish up here on 910. Still moving on this side. Yeah, it's still moving. Slow, but it does move. And that hit on 909 is still coming in nice and strong, isn't it? Hear that? Not as strong as it was, but it's still coming in. I mean, it's strong for middle of the country. Go back up to upper side there. All right, you guys, I'm going to need some help on this one, too. There's an ID in there. Right before that music starts. Is that EPG? Oh man. I forgot to hit record to keep that 8-minute slot, and now it's being overwritten, so I missed it. I'm pretty sure that was EPG, though. I heard the 94 something in there, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, EPG is a 94 FM translator, so I'm pretty sure that's who that was. 1049, okay. That's not what I heard. So it might not have been them. Hopefully whoever it was will still be in here in 12 minutes, right? Like that never happened. This is my favorite view in Jaguar. I keep the map up so I can see the signals here with the spectrum analyzer kind of thing. And then I've got all these, so if I hear an ID, I can start looking. And I know where my antenna is pointing. I'm on that northeast right now. So I can see who I got going here. In this kind of gap here. Thank you, Steven. Appreciate you being here, my friend. Take care. 73. We'll see you next time. We're about 30 seconds in from a top of the hour alert, so grab those earphones. Get ready to start getting some IDs. This will be our last top of the hour alert for 910 kilohertz for this week's medium wave frequency challenge. There we go. All right, let's see what we got. I wanted to find one of those auga. I couldn't find it. KRIO? That's my guess on this one. Mike, if you're still on, is this corresponding with what you're hearing from McAllen? Okay. Thanks, Mike. I was wondering the same thing. Just under 4 minutes from the top of the hour, we're closing out our medium wave frequency challenge for the week here on 910 kilohertz. And then we're going to announce the new frequency for the next week. Might even get started on that if we want to. We'll see. And we'll announce our winners for this week's challenge as we tabulate the logs. So stay tuned. And let's take a look over here at the SDR console and the ELAD FDM-S3 with our W6 LVP loop. Good one, Bill. It's that's a great question. I don't know who that is. I'm gonna guess Cuba. Here you go, James. Yeah, I was about to say that's exactly what I thought. The Spanish station was RCNA. Yep. There's two Spanish in there. There's this one that's talking, that's the Colombian. And then there's the one with the accordion music. I'm pretty sure that might be the Ranchera Baton Rouge. All right, so we know we've got Columbia in there on 910. We know we've got, let's see what we got over here on the Perseus. I'll go back to that top of the hour as well. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that accordion music is going to be Baton Rouge. They're weak, as I would expect. If they were running their full 1.2 kilowatt right now, their daytime power, I'd be hearing them very, very loudly. They're pretty loud. I won't say that again. They're a decent level in the daytime. All right, so I think we've gotten 910 fairly well exhausted. Let me go over here. We've got one more refresh, and we're closing out our medium wave frequency challenge. So let me go ahead and turn off now that we are no longer accepting any more responses on the form, and we're going to total this up and see who our top dog was for most stations logged, most states, most countries. We'll get to probably those later on, but I'll at least give us an announcement tonight on who the person was with the most received stations from their location, to do some filtering to make sure we get everything nice and even, but we'll get that in here. And let's go ahead and announce our frequency for the new week. Crunching the numbers a bit, looking at some different things, looking to see what I've already got logged here and what I think is out there. And we're going to go with another frequency here that I think can be a lot of fun for most of us. I know no matter what frequency I pick, there's going to be somebody that has a local there, right? Someone's going to be like, oh, you picked the one frequency where I have this big local next door and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to have to play with that a bit. But as of right now, yeah, let's do that. Let's go to our brand new frequency for the week for our medium wave frequency challenge. We're going to 1430, ladies and gentlemen. 1430 is our new frequency of the week for our medium wave frequency challenge. So go ahead and tune your radios over. I'm going to build a new form here later this evening so you can start submitting your logs, and that as of right now. So as of, we'll call it 0500 UTC here on the 28th of November, we are open for business for 1430 kilohertz, and we'll run that through our live stream next week. So any logs that you get between now and then, nothing previous to this date. So if you have old log SDR recordings, you can't use those. It has to be something received from right now through next week during our live stream, 1430 kilohertz. Hit that dial and let's see what we can hear. And let's go ahead and get it started. While I start compiling some of these numbers, let's go ahead and see what we can hear right now. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewind to the top of the hour and see if we had anything coming in there at the top of the hour. I'm not going to count it towards there, but I'm going to see what we have and can expect. But everything from 05, 07 on is open for business on 1430. Here we go. Let me get. Here we go.
Let's stop polls for a second. With the post-game interview with Lincoln Riley is coming in right now, so we'll play that for you just a moment, hopefully. The Sooners now don't play next week. We know that.
wins. Pretty good chance they're in the playoff, right, Tim? Not a guarantee, but they got a good shot. Do you agree?
I agree.
You think it's a done deal?
I think it is. If they win, I don't know how in the world they can put Notre Dame in front of them. I don't know how that's possible. They don't have. I don't think they have a single win over a top 25 team. If they do, it's one.
Beat Wisconsin. I don't know what Wisconsin is now, but at the time they played them, they were top.
Right. And that doesn't look a good thing, but you know.
I muted my mic. That's why I couldn't hear myself. All right, so we have a winner. It was close. It was very, very close, but we have ourselves a winner for our medium wave frequency challenge for the week for most logs. We're going to go back in. We're going to count up most states, most countries, all that kind of stuff. But for most logged stations, we have a winner. This person actually got 9 stations logged, which is actually that's what I got this week too. I got 9 stations here on 910 this week, which was really awesome. But our winner for this week is James Niven. Congratulations, James. You are the challenge winner for 910 kilohertz. We're going to get a nice little e-certificate made up for you and send that your way to proclaim you as the champion of the medium wave frequency challenge. So thank you to everyone who submitted a log. We had over 70 submitted logs, almost 75 this week. So let's see if we can top that this week on 1430. But for 9 log stations for James Niven. We had a very close second place. It was actually down to one last log. Troy Porter had 8. And so Troy and James were tied for a while. They were tied at, I think, 7 for a while, and then were tied at 8 for a while. And then James got one here at the end that put him over here at 9. So congratulations, James. And again, thank you to everyone who submitted. Even if you submitted 1 log or 9, we really appreciate you being part of the fun here and having the opportunity to maybe hopefully expand your log. Even if you logged one station you didn't have before, man, that's why I want to do these. Is it can be a lot of fun to hopefully help you guys add to your logbook. So we'll get that new link up here, Bill and folks, for 1430 up here pretty soon. Make sure you're following us over on Twitter. That's where I'm going to announce it first. We'll also put it up on our website, but first you'll see it right here on our Twitter feed. That's twitter.com/DXCentral, so make sure you're following there. Once we have the new Google form made for that, we'll put it up there. We'll also make sure to put it up on a blog post on our website. That's just dxcentralonline.com. So either way, you'll see those either on the website, on our blog, or on the Twitter feed, twitter.com/DXCentral. And I'm sure I'll also be posting it to the NRC Facebook and some of the other Facebook groups that are out there for AM DXing as well, just to spread the word. So back to 1430, my friends. I didn't hear anything here as far as an ID goes. But we did have some folks talking about Oklahoma football. I'm guessing that's KTBZ, the station I have already in Oklahoma. That doesn't bode well for me. I'm trying to add to my totals, not hear what I've already heard. But let's go in here and see what we can find. Okay, I heard the FM in there. Who is it? All right, so we got the station playing Prince right now, and this was again on our Northeast wire. So we're looking kind of our Northeast from here in Louisiana. We have a station that ID'd with an FM. I want to say I heard a 101 in there in the FM ID, and now they're playing Prince after they come out of that. So let's see if we can figure out who this might be on 1430 right here at the top of the hour. We're not going to count it for this week's challenge on our side, but at least want to get an idea of who might be here this week when I go looking around. So let's see. We could still log it. Just not count it. Unless we hear it later. I talked over him. My bad. Anybody got anything on it? I got the FM in there. I think I hear a 101, maybe a 104. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. We're going to have to keep playing around on this frequency and see what we can find. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap things up here on DX Central Live for the evening and kind of get ready for next week's stream right here on YouTube. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teak Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teakpublishing.com for more information. That's teakpublishing.com. From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teak Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teakpublishing.com for more information. That's teakpublishing.com.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
From the DXC North Shore Studios, as you just heard. Bringing you DX Central Live right here from our home quarters in Mandeville, Louisiana. We're going to go ahead and wrap everything up tonight. We've been doing this now a little over 3 hours, so I think we've got some good time in here. I want to thank everyone who joined in. Thank you to Wayne Heinen for joining us today on our debut of DXC One-on-One. We're working on our guest for next week, so make sure you stay tuned to find out who that's going to be. A couple of reminders. Be sure to, here on the YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe, like, comment. That way you can be notified when new videos are posted, including our live streams, and also when we post the 3 segments tomorrow for the interview with Wayne. Tomorrow, Monday, it might take a little bit of long time for me to upload those videos, but because they're pretty big, but we'll get them up there starting tomorrow. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/DXCentral. We always announce when we're live streaming there. We always announce when we post a new video. We do a lot of stuff on our Twitter feed, so make sure you go there. I put a little behind-the-scenes video up there tonight, kind of shooting behind from this side of the camera, so you guys can kind of see that, so make sure you check that out. Also, be sure to go to our website, dxcentralonline.com. We have a lot of information for new and experienced DXers alike. Our DX 101 area is filled with information that can help you in your DX pursuits. We have equipment, not reviews, but we have equipment, I guess kind of mini reviews there, things like that. So make sure you check it out, dxcentralonline.com. We also have a blog where we post things like our mini wave frequency challenge link for the Google Forms and stuff like that. So be sure to check that out. All right. So thank you everyone for joining in. It was a lot of fun. Always love doing these. Missed doing these. Glad we're back in the saddle. Again, congratulations, James Niven, for winning this week's medium wave frequency challenge. I'd give you a big round of applause, but I don't have one queued up. So we'll get that for next time. But good job. 9 stations logged. That's pretty fantastic for James. So good job. My friends, we'll take care. Hopefully, we'll see you next week. 73, my friends. Best of DX. Now, let's go take a break and then hit the bands. Take care, my friends. 73.
This is DX Central Live.